In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at a very typical function event listener pair. And we're showing you this because you're going to see a lot of function event listener pairs during the semester. Now, we can copy and paste the function event listener pair that I already have there if you want to make it a little bit easier. So let's go down and grab that. And the first thing that we have is creating a function. Just like we created the function hello world, we're creating a function that is going to be run from a mouse clip event. Now, the very first thing that we have is function again. Then the next thing is the name of the function. So I've called it my function name. So let's call it my button click. So we're just creating something simple there. Now the next thing we have is event type of event. Now this is what's called an argument. Now it doesn't have to be as specified as it has right here. You'll sometimes see just E, or you'll see EVT, or sometimes you'll see event, and you can have any combination thereof. Like you can have E mouse event, and so you may remember from what I talked about before that colon right there allows us to do some sort of data typing. And the data typing, in this case, it's strict data typing. It's saying this is going to be a mouse event. It can't be any other kind of event at all. And data typing is not absolutely required, but it's definitely best practice for us to do. I'm going to take it out just to make it really, really simple. So it just says my button click E, and I'll put EVT just because that's a nice little acronym for event. Notice though that it's black versus blue. In this case, it doesn't really matter. The next thing we have is colon void, and what that is a it's a what is it? A data type that says don't send back any information. So don't return any information. It is not required as a part of a function event listener pair either, but it's definitely best practice to use, and that's why you see it in a lot of my examples. The next thing that we have here is the action that we're going to do. We're going to trace a new message here. So we're going to use trace. You clicked on the button. So that's a very simple function that we are going to run when we click on a button. The next thing that we have is the event listener. And the event listener is going to run the function myButtonClick when we want it to run. Now, the first thing that we have there is a target. Now, we haven't created any buttons in Flash yet, so it's not a bad idea for us to create a very, very simple button. So I'm going to go ahead and create just a very simple button right here on the stage. We can select that, right-click, choose Convert to Symbol, and we'll call it a button. And right now, we'll call it my BTN, or my button. Now, this button, in order for Actionscript to be able to use it as a target, has to have an instance name. So I'm going to expand my properties over here, which should be there, and you'll notice it doesn't have a instance name yet. So we'll call it sample_btn. Now I'm using the underscore naming convention so that I realize that this is a button that's being used. One of the other things that we can do is also make sure that this button actually looks like a button and acts like a button, so we can change our over and up and over states so they respond differently. Then if I go back to my actions here, you'll see here is the target where I'm going to put the sample_btn. Then it says add event listener. Then we have the type of event that we're going to use, and we're going to use a mouse event, and then the constant is in uppercase, and that's what type of event we're actually going to use. In this case, it'll be a click. And then we have what function to run. So here's where we want to copy and paste that function from one place to the other. Now, assuming that everything else is right, we should be able to test this movie. And when we click on that button, it should be able to run that function. So let's get all of that done and save your work and go on.